What's going on, everyone? It's Adam and Craig with Grandstand Golf. In this show, we're doing 2021 Farmers Insurance Open PGA DFS picks. Craig, we're coming off another stellar week. We had both Cantlay and Siwoo in our in this show, in our DFS pick show. And then at the Tournament of Champions, we had Harris Inglis and Joaquin Niemann. So we've had the winner and the runner-up in 2 of the 3 tournaments to start the year. That's a heater.
Yeah, that is a heater. I also feel like you can't get them all. So like 2 or 3 is a pretty good ratio.
Yeah.
My biggest problem is trying to get them all in the right lineups together. That's the difficulty.
All 6 together in the right lineup. But if you haven't already, subscribed to our channel below. It really does mean a lot. It's how we keep this channel going and making these videos for you, making these picks. So please subscribe.
Yeah, plus just on top of that, we're doing live shows on Wednesday, and now we're doing our showdown picks live. So if you guys are around on the evenings after the rounds have happened, come chat with us about the day. It's a lot of fun.
Round 4 was pretty good for us at the PGA West with Cantlay 61, I digress. Okay, we're going to San Diego this week. My beloved Chargers are no longer there, but I still got the hat. We're in Torrey Pines, San Diego, California. Craig, we have the South Course, the North Course. The South Course is huge. It's long. It's hard.
It's the host of the U.S. Open.
Host of the 2021 U.S. Open. Obviously, previous U.S. Open as well. Previous winners here, Mark Leishman, Justin Rose, Jason Day. And sorry, just on that point. So Thursday, Friday, we'll have guys going on South Course and North Course. And then South Course for Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, so everyone will have to play one of each to get in, to get through the cut, and then the whole thing happens on the weekend on the South Course.
Early look at weather. I think it's like a crazy winds in California right now. It looks like they might get some rain Thursday, Friday. There might be a course stack with a harder course on Thursday. I don't know. Come join our live show on Wednesday when we have a better idea of the weather.
Yeah, and it really does look like it might. We don't know at this point. By Wednesday, we'll have tee times, we'll have the waves, we'll have a better, more accurate forecasting, so we can start to anticipate whether one side or the other will be favored. But notable at this point that there will be weather on those first couple days. Yeah,
for sure.
Okay, let's do it.
Brooks Koepka is my first pick, 9,400 on DraftKings. He's 8th there on FanDuel. He's 10,800. He's 9th. I was kind of doing some research on him before prices came out, and then prices came out, and it just seemed too low. He's below guys like Harris English. He's below Sung Jae Im. I mean, it's still Brooks Koepka, guys. So looking at his PGA Tour stats for the 2020-2021 season, it's a little bit all over the place. It's not a typical Brooks, but he's really good around the green, plus 5.07, and really good putting, plus 0.8. He's 16th, 17th there. Looking at his course history, he hasn't played Torrey Pines since winning his first U.S. Open. So it's been a long time. He's a completely different player back then than he is now. I think there's this kind of weird narrative that Brooks isn't really Brooks right now. I mean, looking at his driving accuracy, he has hit at least 65% of fairways in 2 of the last 3 tournaments. He has 2 top 10s on the season. He's still playing pretty decent. I think he missed the cut, so he's going to have lower ownership because of that. And there's this article that just came out where he dropped his coach, Clyde Harmon III, coach of Dustin Johnson, Siwoo Kim. So I think it's just
Butch Harmon's kid. Is that right?
Yeah. I think that just happened after the Masters, apparently, from the article. I think that's just going to kind of people shy away from Brooks a little bit. It feels like a gut call. The stats aren't necessarily all lining up, but it just feels like the right price to get early on Brooks.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing with stats lining up is Brooks was hurt last year. So when you're just looking at how someone's stats have been over the past year, say, he physically is swinging the golf club differently than he was, through the summer when he was really battling injury. So, I don't know. Come talk to me on Wednesday whether or not he's in my pool. I'll get back to you.
Yeah. We'll
I do think that the ownership is significant, but a little bit offset because he is, typically you'd expect Brooks to be up in sort of the top 4 or 5 in this field in terms of pricing.
So pricing discount.
So does the discount bump up ownership a bit? I don't quite know how to handle all the moving pieces here.
Yeah.
But let me jump into my first one here. I think it is one that may cause surprise. I don't know. Tony Finau, DraftKings price 10,700. He's third. FanDuel price 11,300. He's fourth there. So I think Tony Finau is going to take a bit of a hit because he didn't win this past week in terms of ownership.
Right.
I think that's to me that's a little bit counterintuitive because or nonsensical maybe because he went out there and he played great golf. So like essentially we're gonna knock the guy for if he had been backdoor top 10, then
Sure.
it wouldn't have really
Absolutely.
been at part of the narrative at all. But in terms of recent form, 14 tournaments, last 14 starts, 9 of them he's gained over a stroke and a half per round total. So that's a lot of tournaments where he is working his way high up into fields. And then this is part of the Tony Finau narrative. 2 of his last 3 starts, he's been in the final group on Sunday. Yeah. So he's giving himself chances. Yes, I think there's a huge narrative about him being a lack of ability to close, but I think you're going to get an ownership discount because of that. So course history, he is probably the best in the field. Or close to. There's a lot of guys at the top have a really good course history here. But you look every year since 2015, he's been in the top 25.
Right.
Last 4 years, he's been 6th or better 3 of those 4. So it's just an awesome course history. I think in terms of a fit, his distance off the tee, I like to look. I don't like to look at driving distance, the sort of normal one that's out there. I think the most. I like to look at all drives because I don't care when these guys have 1 or 2 par 5s or whatever holes they decide to measure it on. I want to see what is someone doing on every hole. And he's 13. So this is not in this field. This is overall on the PGA Tour for the 2019-2020 season. He was 13th there in distance. And then the last one, I think too often we underrate with these long courses, we underrate the importance of approach play. And you look at his approach play of these top guys, he's potentially the best. You look at the past, since 2017, the lowest he has been is 0.38 strokes gained. Most years, he's above a half stroke gain in approach. So when you have these, we typically, I think, with approaches like, the 100 to 150 yard wedges in, but it also, we're also talking about the 200 yard, 225 yard ones that we'll see a lot more of this week with these long holes. So I think that's why we see Finau. He does both of those well. So really all we need for him to have a win, I mean, first off, he doesn't have to win to be a valuable DFS play. But for him to get a win, I think all he does is need to get a little bit hotter with the putter on the weekend. And I think it's just a matter of time till we see that happen.
Yeah. So it's Monday when we're recording this. I think, again, with our Wednesday show, we'll have a better idea around ownership with Tony. I think I don't know. I don't think he will have decreased ownership. I think a lot of people will go there because of the course history, because of the fit. I think a lot of people will still pay up for him, but it is a pretty high price.
I think you overestimate the emotional nature of the DFS player.
They're a very emotional player. I mean, let's go into my next pick, Scottie Scheffler. 9,000 on DraftKings. He's 12th there. On FanDuel, 10,600. He's 11th there. Again, another guy that people might shy away from because he just missed a cut. But looking, so you mentioned total drive or all driving. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at total driving this year because I think a lot of people think with Torrey Pines that you just have to kind of go smash it out there and it doesn't matter if you hit the rough. I don't know about that. I'm not buying that. So total driving takes the ranks from driving distance and driving accuracy. Scottie Scheffler ranks second in total driving. When you measure both those together, his rank is second. So you do need to drive it well at Torrey Pines. I mean, the South Course is 7,700 yards. You need to drive it well. So
you got to cover a lot of those yards with your driver.
You got to cover a lot of yards with your driver. Looking at his last 3 tournaments, so you got to get it out there. You got to find the fairway, and you got to find greens. His greens in regulation went 72, 75, 72. His driving accuracy is 80, 75, 89. Mm-hmm. So I think he's hitting the ball really, really, really well right now. If we look at his one past trip to Torrey Pines at the Farmers in 2020, he missed the cut. But looking into that a little bit further, he only hit 28% of fairways in 2 rounds.
Yeah.
So if he can kind of continue the trend he's been on with hitting fairways and hitting greens, I think he's a good fit here as well. I mean, he is kind of the mold of a Tony Finau.
Yeah, and I mean that also is a rookie year for him. So, like I give a guy a lot of breaks as they're trying to figure out their way on the PGA Tour. I don't love total driving as if you're comparing, say, second to seventh or something, just because I find too often ranks. If we're just
it takes a ranks.
Yeah, so like you might be comparing a guy who is ranked third in driving distance at 314 yards and a guy who has 313.5 and he's ranked 15th, so but clearly, like that said, I think ranks as a metric are too often overused, but second, he is one of the people who is high on both of them. For how far he hits it, he's accurate. That's all you need to know, I think.
That's exactly it. We see some guys that are, hitting 50% of the fairways. That's not Scottie Scheffler. He's hitting the fairways.
Okay, my next one. I am a little embarrassed because I am picking from the top end of the range here for my first two picks. So I got flack from you last week because I had Abe Answer as my one and done, and I was really hyping him up on our Wednesday show, and you were like, why didn't you bring him up on the other one? And it's like, well, like sometimes you have to choose between only one guy at the top of the range. And I think the two DFS picks I like the most this week are Finau and Xander. So here, I'll give them to you both, and you guys can decide which one you like the rationale for more. But Xander Schauffele comes in at 10,400 on DraftKings, 10,300. No, that's not right. I'll get the FanDuel price for you. That one's not right.
Probably 11,300.
Yeah, he'll be expensive there. But regardless, his form is unbelievable. He comes in with top fives in 4 of his last 6 starts. And he leads the field for 2020-2021 strokes gained total by 0.38. Wow. So he is like, there is a cluster of people around like the high 1 point. Well, first off, Justin Suh, I think, is in second right now, but he has a very, very few rounds played. But then there's a cluster of guys, in the high 1 point somethings, and he's like another half stroke basically above all of them. So his form is unbelievable. Again, stats, looking at driver distance total, he does get out there. He's 30th last year. The model loves him, which you know how much I love to lean on the model. Because first off, he hits it out there. He's a good approach player, but he's got a good short game. So I mean, he's just really playing good golf across the board.
It's classic Xander. I think he's usually top 30 in every strokes gained category. He's so balanced as a player.
Yeah, and so I think the big story for Xander this week is that he has a very poor course history. Now Xander is a San Diego native, and he also, he grew up there. He lives, I think he said 20 minutes away from Torrey Pines. He went to San Diego State. He has a ton of exposure to Torrey Pines. He's very familiar with it, but he's missed 4 of 5 cuts in this tournament. The last 2 misses, so he missed in 2020, he made in 2019, and he missed in 2018. Both of those misses were on the number. And he was battling sickness in his 2019 where he did make the cut, and then he was coming back from a sickness in 2020. I think the other reality is the human factor of a guy who's playing in his hometown. I think you're dealing with social expectations. You're dealing with wanting to play well in front of your friends and family and all those things. I think with COVID, that might be a little bit different this year. It might be a little bit more like he's playing a normal round on Torrey without, all the fanfare. So I just think that if there's a year he's going to pop here, it could very well be this year that we see him sort of turn around a negative history at this course.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think I'm going to basically push course history aside here. I think that's probably overblown. I know it gets talked a lot about with him here. With the U.S. Open, with our first 4 picks, clearly these are kind of guys that we think they're U.S. Open type performers. They got it all. They're the big hitters. Xander, again, Torrey Pines is at the U.S. Open's at Torrey Pines this year. It's kind of lining up with his performances in past U.S. Opens that I don't know. So I think is unreal. So I think a really good tournament here could also set up something in the summer.
This will be a good bellwether
for
for what to expect at the U.S. Open. And I guess on that note, maybe check out the futures. And if you like his price now, it could change a lot if he has a good week. So something to think about.
Okay, my third and final pick, Sam Burns, is going back to back with people that burn people in DFS. That's what I like to do when people get burned. Like you said, they're emotional. I'm going to hop right on. So Sam Burns, 7,700 on DraftKings. He's 28th on FanDuel. He's 9,300. He's 30th. His stats are unbelievable right now to start the year. So this is 2020, 2021. He's first in total driving. Again, taking the ranks from distance and accuracy, but still, he's first.
Yeah.
8th in greens and regulation. He's hitting 75% right now. 12th in strokes gained total, plus 1.646. Just kind of shows you that his game is complete. It's a well-rounded type game. It's not up to the Xander level, of course, but it is well-rounded when you look at strokes gained total. Doesn't have a good history here. Doesn't have a great history. Miscut 40th, 49th. I think, though, just with how he burned people last week, the DFS burns. Come on,
the groaner. I do love it, actually.
I think he's a really good play. Also, he ranks 11th in our model right now for this tournament. So it's just all kind of popping. I think potentially he'll go the emotional factor. Yeah. I'm going to be pretty high on him.
Well, I think to me it's a pure value play with the emotional ownership, bump down in terms of what his ownership will be. Just ask our brother Kevin if he would want to roster him, because he got burned by him in one and done last week, and there will be some salt in the wounds for people who, I had a few. I don't know if I actually had any that were 5 of 6s with him being the miss, but I'm sure there were people that way, and so you definitely think about that when you're trying to figure out who you're going to play the next week.
I hate wearing a hat because I also have other notes down here, but I won't look at you. But in his second round, he did gain 4.55 strokes tee to green on the stadium course.
Unreal second round. It was just his first day, really.
Just his first day, and then the last 3 months in this field, he actually ranks first in strokes gained tee to green,
which is one of our favorite stats.
One of our favorites. I mean, he's just, I love it this week. I wish I still had him in one and done. I feel the burn.
Yeah.
I feel the burn this week.
You're just coming up with all the corniest ones. Okay, my last one here. I think this one might be a fairly popular idea this week, but Jason Day, he comes in 8,600 on DraftKings, slightly above average there. He's 16th there. FanDuel, he comes in 10,300, again, slightly above average, 14th there. To me, there's, Jason Day's a tough one to figure out. Yeah. His form... So you look back to 2020, he had this streak of, let me pull up the number here, 4 straight top 10s last summer, leading in really nice. And including the PGA Championship. But then he had 6 straight tournaments where he was tied for 38th or worse. Now, one of those was the CJ Cup, where he would have probably... he was, I think, second last group, somewhere around there. But he withdrew with a back injury. I believe it was back. Right. But he, it probably would have been a top 10 or a good finish at least. Yeah. But 6 straight 38th place or worse. And then these 3 here, this was in Houston right before the Masters, and then cut at the Masters, and then RSM the week after. So, I think that it's tough to figure out what we're going to see from him in terms of form. But I do think he's a guy that you don't need to... He's one of these people that you can have not seen for a while and can come out and be competitive, which not every golfer, I don't think that's the case. Yeah. Driving distance, I think to me this is just... I think you need to have a certain amount of distance to win at this course.
Yeah, I think it's fair.
So 2020 driving distance, he was 299.7, which is, it's 74th in the whole PGA. But to me, that's long enough. It's enough. It's, combined with his elite short game, which is, I think, I'm going to get into his course history, but I think it's his elite short game that it really is what makes Jason Day special as a golfer. And you combine that with being long enough and having approach game that can, when it's good, it can be very good. but just his familiarity and success at this course. So last 7 starts, he's got 4 top 5s. So I'm not talking top 10s here. We're talking over 50% of the time he comes to this course in the last 7 years, he's been in the top 5. 2 of those are wins, 2015, 2018. So, you can't, I was talking about Finau having maybe the best course history in terms of like,
I think
upside. Yeah. Like a couple wins does a lot to make an argument for you having the best course history. So it's just a matter of whether you think his game is in good enough form right now. And I'm going to take some shots. I'm not going to commit, like Xander and Finau. I'm going to have high percentages with them, especially Xander, I think. But with Day, I'm not going to commit. I'm going to take a few more like fly or lottery tickets because I think if he does play well, it could be a high finish.
That's how I think I'll approach it as well. I mentioned on the pod last night that Aussies play this course really well. We had Leishman win, Scott's been, I think, a runner-up a couple times, Day a couple wins. 6 of the last 8 tournaments, I think they've come first or second. So maybe Cameron Davis as well, another favorite of ours. But Jason Day, really interesting. So if he has a break, potentially he'll be more healthy. He'll be rested, so you don't have to worry about the back as much, possibly. A new equipment sponsor, another kind of interesting thing to note, and a new coach as well. So
a lot of moving parts.
A lot of moving parts. I like what you said. It's kind of more of a couple flyers because the price isn't really cheap. You're not getting Jason Day at a discount like we did in the summer, it feels like. So
no, but it's an upside play. So like it's GPP, you got to find people I think that have win equity. And so if he does show up with any sort of form, I think he has win equity. I definitely will be plugging him in. I just don't know how much yet.
Yeah, same here. Well, thank you everybody for watching. Make sure to subscribe. It's a little bit of a longer one today, but hopefully you enjoyed it. Let us know. Please comment below who you like for the Farmers Insurance. Who's your favorite?
Yeah, who's your favorite above 7,500? We'll be doing the sleepers below 7,500 in the next one, so check that out too.
You bet. Take care. See ya.